Hello, everyone. Neil Bulchandani here with my beautiful bride, Dawn Bulchandani. And this interview is a raw, in the moment, hot off the presses question and answer with Dawn Bulchandani as she has just returned from teaching a class called What is Islam at Simpson University, where she's a professor. And we've done the first part is a written interview. We're going to carry on now in video. And just to let you know, this is really a natural flowing interview, so Dawn doesn't know any of these questions. She'll just be pulling and drawing from her natural resources as she is witty and brilliant, and also thoughtful and purpose-filled. And that's what struck me. As soon as I asked her just innocently, how was your day and how's your class? And she just responded with such vigor and passion. It's like, I should interview her. And people need to hear this. So that's where we are. To bridge where we left off, I just asked Dawn about what it was like and what it is like to go from being a student in Southern California in 2001 on September 11th to today, September 11th, 2015, being a professor. And she just answered that, so now I want to bridge that with saying, okay, now that you are a teacher and you've had this awakening today where you got up September 11th and you were able to reflect on thoughts and past and present colliding, how did it feel to walk into that classroom today as you set to teach What is Islam?
Well, this morning as I walked into class, I felt a kind of heavy honor and responsibility and excitement because this particular class is comprised mostly of students who don't know much about Islam, and they really want to bridge the gap between their own experience, which has included fear and misunderstanding, into knowledge, wisdom, and love. So there's this joy that I have about being able to be a channel for that for them, and not just in general, but particularly today as it is a milestone. And when I got up this morning, one of the first things I heard was a news brief on the radio that was somewhat recalling the events of 9/11, and I remembered that our whole nation is going to be touching in with that event again and pondering the horror of it, the significance of it, but then also looking future forward and wondering how, in a healthy way, we should respond to both the event itself, but then also the following thoughts that we've had in these 14 years. So I was excited.
I want to touch on that because with all the questions I'm thinking, the one thought that prevails is, as you were talking to your students, and what were the one thing, the unifying thought of how to be, how to think, and how to feel? Like, what's the most important thing for people to do when they're thinking about this day and when they're thinking about Islam, and how to just know how to be?
Well, that's a really loaded question. I think that a first thought is the importance of being free to feel grief and horror and sadness and disbelief in remembering what happened on 9/11 and just being real with that. It was an absolutely horrific thing that really hurt the lives of thousands of people in direct ways, and then infinitely more than that in less direct ways. But then I think encouraging oneself to step back from that horror and look at personal decisions and then also corporate decisions of how to move forward in a healthy way. So becoming more knowledgeable about Islam, understanding that Al-Qaeda is not normative Islam, and even in those thoughts, recognizing that, and I know this is, to many this will feel like a dangerous or a abrasive thing to say, but to also recognize that people who have followed Al-Qaeda, people who've been part of Al-Qaeda, they are also people with families and with pain. So, saying that is not in any component justifying or making light of what happened on 9/11. But it is a reality check that Al-Qaeda, or ISIS, as is so frequently talked about now, they're made up of people, and they're made up of people who really need help and love and acceptance and softening of their heart so they can move from hatred and destruction to love and building. So I hope that there's really like this catalytic awareness that, hey, like we can make things different. We can make these dynamics change globally. And hating people because they've hated is not going to be the most efficient or beneficial response. So I would encourage people to step back and think about what it looks like to love people and love a group of people who are doing atrocious things or have done atrocious things. And hey, let's brainstorm. Like we need some think tanks that are going to wrestle with tangible possibilities for how we can bring reconciliation between us and ISIS, or the world and ISIS, or whatever it is. Like, I believe there are solutions. So I hope that in the reminiscing that happens today and in the days that follow, people feel provoked to think about solutions and like what can I tangibly do to shift some of these dynamics, and how can I get away from stereotypes into actually having an understanding about a people or an individual or a people group, and then from that understanding loving them.
Yeah, I was hit by this wave of a thought when you were speaking, and it brought up something that I know we've talked about, but it just in a new way. And I was thinking, going from hating and a lack of understanding and love to loving and understanding, it felt like me to this dichotomy that a lot of people have in their thoughts, but it felt like me to think of war and peace. Like, so I think that's something I want to ask you. Like, what often people's response, or at least there is this just general thought to like, hey, there's this we've warred as people on this planet for so long, and it's happening now, and that has been this solution. But you talked about solutions that come from love. So how do you feel about love as a solution, or other solutions to truly understanding and having peace? Like, what is peace, and how do you attain that? All of those very, very general, but mainly, like, and practically maybe to that, like, what are some keys that people can do in solutions to how to love in this time?
Right. Today's episode of John and Neil, we're going to address that often thought of question: what is peace, and how do we attain it? I mean, facetious. It's a good question, but there's so much to thoughts about it. So, there's a group in Iraq called Preemptive Love, and part of their focus is on, hey, like, let's love these groups of people who already feel they're either already in pain or they have these stirs of militancy in them, and let's love them before they reach a boiling point and begin to lash out on their neighbors, the world, etc. So I think that is a really good tactic.